Hey everyone, welcome back. Before we get into the actual news of this week, we're going to do something a little bit different this week. There is one story that isn't news, so I don't think it deserves to be in the news segment at all. So we're going to talk about it right at the front here. If you do not care about this, just skip the timestamp. We'll get into the news in the regular show. But we have to talk about this story. There is one story floating around right now on websites like PC Gamer, Tech Power Up, Tech Radar, Twisted Voxel, Tom's Hardware, Notebook Check, and all of the big websites. And they all share one thing in common. The actual article and source of it is absolute garbage. So I'm going to pick on Tom's Hardware for this one. Their title is, "The ROG Xbox Ally runs better on Linux than the Windows it ships with. New test shows up to 30% higher FPS." And so you might be sitting there, like I am, thinking, 30%, that's quite a bit. Now, we probably know, if we've been in this hobby, that, yeah, okay, Linux, for the most part, may have a few frames higher than Windows in a lot of scenarios, but 32%, I want to know what game you were testing, I want to know what the test was. And so you dig a little deeper into this. You scroll down in that article and you see a table with all of the different power modes, all of the different FPS, and the differences in percentage. And you're like, okay, this all makes sense. I see this. I see these numbers. Where did these numbers come from exactly? And you find out that this came from a YouTube channel, a YouTube video. And you're like, okay, cool. Let me go check out this YouTube channel and video to see how they got to these numbers. Now, just quickly, before I actually do that, I want to know how many of you, when you saw this title, number one said, duh. Number two said, well, yeah, Microsoft sucks, Windows sucks, all of that sort of thing. I'm very curious. Keep that in the back of your mind as we go through this article and this news story, because I think it might answer a few questions as to what's going on with journalism nowadays in 2025. But so we get to the video. And so I went through and I looked at it and I'm like, okay, he's doing a comparison here at 17 watts on Windows, showing off a game and how it's running. And then he goes into SteamOS and does the same test. And I'm going to put up side by side right now. I'm sorry, audio listeners, but I'm going to put up side by side right now. On the left is the Windows test. On the right is the SteamOS test. I'll give you a second. Let me know if you see anything. For anybody that's ever used a PC handheld in their life, let me know if you see anything that is different between the two. Okay, so one of them is 17 watts, one of them is 20 watts. Yes, of course you will get a different frame rate when you are not using the same exact TDP on both operating systems. So no, this test is already garbage. You have 17 watts and 20 watts. They are not the same. You cannot do a comparison saying they are the same if they are not the same. But okay, you know what? Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. This is a Steam Deck Bro YouTube channel. Maybe he just isn't aware of how to do actual competing benchmarks or competing two operating systems against each other. Let's see the next test they did. This test here is at 13 watts. And it is actually 13 watts on both devices. And guess what? It is the same frame rate on both devices. This instantly should be like a come to Jesus moment. You know, why is this one the same, but when I put it at 17 watts, it's not the same? Maybe I should look for 30 seconds to see if I actually did the same TDP on both in some point in my process of filming or editing or anything like that. But that didn't happen. So then we get to another comparison here where they did, again, 17 watts to 20 watts with a massive difference in frame rate, which again are not the same. So you can't compare the two. Okay, we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt once again. But the last one is the most egregious. We get to the final test here of where they were trying to, I think, compare 35 watts to each other. Except the Windows side is 25 watts, the Linux side is 35 watts. So, what the fuck are we doing here? Look, this is the source of every single article that I have seen. This is the source. And some websites, including Tom's Hardware, put tables out. So they went into this video and wrote down the FPS numbers and everything and made a table out of it. And not one single website checked the TDP or checked to make sure that this was an actual test with proper numbers. No. You know why? Because right now, the cool thing right now this week, how do we have more articles about how Microsoft or Xbox is bad? That is this week. So how do we play into that? Well, we go and find a YouTube channel of a YouTube video of a guy that has no idea how to do benchmarks, and we'll make a video on this one because look, he says it's 32% as an FPS upgrade. And we'll make that as the title because people will click on it and they will say one of two things. Number one, duh. Number two, Microsoft and Xbox is bad. But the entire story is based off of garbage. So you might be wondering, why am I mad here? I'm mad because I, in 1 minute, went and looked and found out that this was garbage, but I'm not a journalist. I don't work for Tom's Hardware. I don't work for PC Gamer. I don't work for these websites that hire actual journalists, actual people that go to school for this. And the number one thing that you know as a journalist, I've never went to school for it, but I think I would know, considering everybody knows this, is check your sources. Is this story real? The answer is no. So when these people grew up and decided they want to become a journalist, they went to journalist school, is this the type of article that you saw yourself writing without doing any sort of back checking or information checking? And you might be sitting there on the other end, well, you're being a little bit too hard on them. Maybe they don't know what TDP is. They are a hardware website. It is their job to know what TDP is. It is their job to know how to compare one device to another. So when you write an article on it based off some garbage YouTube video, you are checking to make sure that that garbage YouTube video did the right stuff in the first place, especially in this scenario where it is so obvious to anybody looking. But that doesn't get clicks, right? That does not get anybody clicks. You can't write a title that says, oh, Windows and Linux are very close to each other. Who's going to click on that? And so my annoyance here is more with the sites that failed to do their actual research. YouTube videos, anybody can put out any YouTube video they want, any garbage they want to put out. That is fine. Anybody can do that. I do that. I have garbage videos all the time. But we have actual websites with actual journalists writing stories on this garbage without doing any sort of due diligence. And that is where I get mad about. That is where I am like, it's 2025. You cannot put the absolute bare minimum of effort in to make sure that your story is an actual story. And we come to this moment where we have stories based on garbage. And this is the only one that I have caught. How many other stories from today, yesterday, this week are all based on garbage? Who knows? How many stories should be based off of actual YouTube channels that are putting in the actual effort to get you the real numbers and all that sort of thing? And I don't mean myself. I am very lazy. I don't want to do benchmarking, any of that. But there are a lot of YouTube channels out there that deserve to be promoted front and center for the work they are doing because they are actually doing the proper work. They are not just doing some garbage ass comparison between two things that have no actual apples to apples comparison. Yeah. That's my rant for this week. I apologize. I didn't know where else to put this. It was going to go in my ROG Ally X review, which is coming up. Not even a review. I'm just doing a video on it. It's not a lot. But I kept seeing this article get posted every single time on different subreddits, different social media. And it's just like, is this where we're at now? Microsoft and Xbox does not need fake news stories to make fun of them. They are doing enough wrong on their end that you can go and point to anything they have said and done and make a story about it and make fun of them. You can do all of that if that is what you want to do. So you don't need fake numbers. You don't need a fake video. You don't need any of that to go and prove your point. That's it. Let's get into actual news for this week. For everybody that is new to this channel, we do a newscast every week where we go over the top news of the week. And so this didn't fit in as news. Let's get into real news. Now, you might remember that we talked about ARM SX2, the new PS2 emulator for Android, a few weeks ago. And this is a port, or supposed to be a port, of PC SX2. They have their official website up now, but no download link as of yet. It is supposed to be by the end of this month, so we should see this pretty soon. But I don't know about you, but I'm very excited to see a new PS2 emulator on Android and test it out, play with it, and see how it does. This is something that we've been waiting for a long while, a straight port of PC SX2. From what I understand, I'm not in the beta of this, but from what I understand, that's what they're doing here. So that is pretty exciting, but we'll know in a few short days what this actually does. Question of the week. Are you as overwhelmed with the new number of handhelds as I am? Now, AYN Thor, Odin 3, Xbox Allies, Miu Flip, Anbernic RG DS, new Retroid device or devices, Ayaneo Pocket DS, Pocket Air Mini, and I am sure I'm forgetting one, and so on. There are a lot of devices that are either coming out, are out, or within this timeline. So I am personally overwhelmed for a different reason because I am expected to review these devices in different forms and all that sort of thing. And so I'm overwhelmed for a whole entirely different reason. Thankfully, some of these companies just don't send me devices, so I can skip them. But for the most part, I have a lot on my plate, and there's a lot of other things that I want to do, so I'm kind of overwhelmed. If I was a consumer, I'm going to be straight honest with you. If I was a consumer, after the Thor, I would probably just be, that's it. Like, I don't care. Even the Thor, like I have the Portal, and now I have the Thor, I'm kind of done. Like, I don't need anything else. So every time I see a new device, it's not really exciting to me personally, but sometimes you do get something that's pretty cool, like the Miu Flip, Miu Mini Flip. I'm actually enjoying that quite a bit for a little small handheld that we don't get a lot of. So maybe that's the answer, is maybe we need more devices that are different than the other 7 horizontal glass front devices that are releasing. I don't know. I even like the glass front, but even I'm like, all right, maybe we need some more other devices releasing instead of the same thing over and over and over. So anyways, question of the week. Are you overwhelmed? How are you handling it? Or are you just like, you know what? I have a good enough handheld. Why do I need any of this? Those people are the smart ones. But let me know in the comments where you're at. AYN has put out a video on their upcoming Odin 3. This is actually really early compared to usually how they send out videos and stuff on a new device. So for whatever reason, AYN is doing it better this time by showing us ahead of time what the colors look like and all of that. White is looking absolutely stunning, as it usually does. Purple looks like the Thor purple, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings about purple, so I'm not going to say anything. Rainbow looks all right, and then we have black. This really does look like a squished up Odin 2 Portal. It really does. It doesn't have the same offset of controls, but it is just a squished down a little bit to a 6-inch screen Odin 2 Portal. And it does look pretty sexy. I mean, AYN makes some pretty sexy handhelds, in all honesty. And this is that. Then they showed off some gacha game, or I assume it is a gacha game. Genshin Zone Zero, Honkai Waves or something. I don't know. Pick a game. It looks like that. It is one of those games. And they showed them playing it. And then, of course, they had to show off God of War 2 running because you can't make a video on one of these devices without showing God of War 2. It is within the Constitution. It is something they have to do. It is one of the 11th, is the 11th commandment. Let's go with that. It is the 11th commandment of a video when you're doing a new device. Now, some news here, they actually did shut down their Indiegogo campaign. And now, going forward, the device will only be sold on their website. So if you do want to buy one, you can buy it directly off of their website. There were times in the past when they did this where website orders shipped quicker than Indiegogo orders. Don't take that as gospel. I just remember it from, I think it was the Odin 2 Portal, where the website orders shipped quicker than Indiegogo orders, and a lot of people got mad about that. So if you want to jump in now, you might want to grab it off of their website because that's where they're selling it from. But nothing else changes for backers on Indiegogo. You will still get your devices and all that sort of thing. They are just changing how they're selling it. Not much else to talk about on the Odin 3. I am still not personally excited about it, despite how nice it looks. I think it looks pretty awesome and sleek. I don't know. I'm not there yet for excitement, based off of what I know about Snapdragon 8 Elite stuff. And I don't mean Switch and Winlator and all of that nonsense. I mean actual like Retroid cores with OpenGL and all of that stuff. So we'll see where we're at, but it is excited. It's a new device with the best power that we've seen. So it is exciting in a way, but I'm not there yet. Anbernic released a new video on the upcoming RG DS, showing some 3DS gameplay right at the start. Now everybody's going crazy, assuming that you can play 3DS games. But Shovel Knight doesn't really count as a 3DS game like you would expect to think of when you think of a 3DS. Also, Rune Factory 4 has some audio crackling and things that show that it's probably not running at full speed either. And that is a pretty light game to run. So I have seen a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot, of people say that this will play 3DS. And I want you to just temper those expectations until it actually arrives. It may play 3DS, it may not play 3DS, but going in with the assumption right now off of two games that are the lightest games that you could play on 3DS isn't the best way to judge this handheld. The Magmi Air X, which I did a review on a few weeks back, it's been a long time, has a Snapdragon 662 processor, and that is actually good for 3DS, but just barely. It just barely clears the mark for playable native 3DS. So when we look at another device like the RG DS, which likely will not have a Snapdragon 662, likely will have something a little bit less powerful, it is going to be a scenario where I personally don't think it is going to be 3DS playable. You might be able to get away with some light 3DS, and a lot of people are going to think that's exciting, but get the device for what it is meant for. This is meant for Drastic DS. That is what this device is going to be for. There is almost no way it is going to play Melon DS at full speed. That is my assumption at the moment, based off of what we know, because Melon DS is actually pretty hard to run. But Drastic DS is what this is going to do. That is exactly what this is going to do, because Drastic can run on a potato. So we know that works. Now, I am actually pretty curious to see if any Reddit engineers have done input latency testing on this video already, because Anbernic plus 60 Hz usually doesn't equal a good time with their Android build. So when it comes to DS, where a lot of people are complaining about input latency, this is probably going to be one of those scenarios where it might not be the greatest. But again, none of this really matters. Look at the views on that video. Look at how many people are interested in this. It is going to sell like hotcakes no matter what. I don't have any personal interest in this device outside of reviewing it. By the time I get it for review, it's going to be a long time in the future. The second version of this will be out, so maybe wait for that one. But we'll see. I assume specs are probably coming pretty soon on this. I'm very confused as to why they're doing these videos ahead of time. Anbernic usually doesn't do engineering sample reviews. So they must be getting out ahead of something. Somebody is coming out with another DS similar to them, and they're getting out ahead of it. That is what they're doing here. And so I'm very curious to know who and what that device is. Maybe it's Retroid. Retroid's about to announce something. Who knows? We'll see. The Ayaneo Pocket Air Mini has gone up for pre-order on Indiegogo. I bought the Retro Power 64GB, 3GB RAM version. I honestly can't even use this stupid Indiegogo site anymore. I don't know who decided on making these changes to this website, but it is absolutely garbage now. It is the worst redesign. It's not the worst. I've seen a lot of bad redesigns. It is one of the worst redesigns I have ever seen for a website. And I don't know why I bought this device. By the time I received my device from Ayaneo, it is, the review no longer matters. We have people doing reviews now. It is going to be months by the time I get any sort of device from them. So I just bought it because I'm curious. We'll see if I actually do a video on it. It is just not worth the time at that point. By the time I get it, the device is already in everybody's hands. And also, on top of that, with how fast Ayaneo moves, we probably have the second one already out. Like Anbernic, they're very similar in the way they do things. There's not a lot here. But I'm very curious. Did you order one? And if so, why? What do you think about it? And what are you expecting out of it, I guess? I think it's awesome that we are seeing more devices in the sub $100 category. That is cool. We're getting some more competition there. But I don't know if this is the one that I would grab, personally. But I also don't know which one I would grab. So there's devices coming out. We'll see. Okay, and last actual news of the day, Retroid has a teaser out for a new device or devices coming in a few days. And so it is all speculation time at this point. We know the Retroid Pocket 6 is coming. We know, if I remember correctly, it was the G2 Gen 2 processor is what it's going to use, something like that. This was all leaked way back earlier in the very beginning of this year at the Qualcomm event, that the Retroid Pocket 6 is coming. It will use one of the new Snapdragon processors, all of that. So I guess the question is, what will it look like? Are they still going to do D-pad up? There's a part of me that's like, you know what? For the D-pad up crowd, let them have this. I don't have much interest in this device either way. So let the D-pad crowd have one of these devices if they want it. But then there's the other part of me that's like, you're making a device that is this powerful, the stick should be up top. but then it's like every other handheld. So I don't know, you're in the middle of two different things. The Retroid fans will want D-pad up. That is what they're used to. So if that's what they're going to do here, a D-pad up Odin 3 version or a D-pad up Conquer or whatever, then sure. If that's what you want to do, then do it. That's fine, I guess. I'm more curious to know what the price point is. I'm more curious to know what other features and functions it is. I'm also curious to know, is the Retroid Pocket 6 the only device they are announcing? There are other devices that you could see here being announced. We do know from a long time ago, it depends on if they cancel it or not, that the Retroid CEO wanted to make a 4x3 OLED device. They tried with the Mini, and they fumbled that one. So we do know they want to do that. So are we going to see a 4x3 OLED Retroid Pocket Classic horizontal type device? Is that what's coming? Are we going to see Retroid DS device with dual screen mini screens? What are we going to see? That's the question. I foresee not being one device here. I foresee two. So I wonder what the second device is going to be. That's the more interesting one to me personally, depending on what it is. A horizontal Retroid Pocket Classic would be dope. That would be cool. I would be interested in that. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking. What do you think they are going to be doing for this announcement? Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Super Mario Land X, and The Legend of Dragoon are our games of the month, ROM hack of the month, and game of the season. So if you want to play those games, come join the Discord. We are also about to vote on November's game of the month and ROM hack of the month. November is going to be DS focused in honor of the new double screen devices. So we are going to make a DS month for that. ROM hack and game of the month will both be a DS game. If this all sounds fun to you, come join the Discord. We can play some games. That's what we're doing. As always, we end off the newscast with the newscast Q&A. Send in your questions to newscast@joeysretrohandhelds.com, or you could come join the Discord. There's a newscast channel. You can send it in through there. This question comes in from Zari. Dear Joey, tell us about an odd game system combo that for some reason you have enjoyed in the past. For example, I played the shit out of Constructor on the PSX. It is one of my favorite games on the system, and I don't even remember how I end up having an RTS builder game on console. Probably lost some sight playing it on a 15-inch CRT. So my answer is actually the exact same as you. There was a game, I had to look this up. I needed help from somebody on the Discord, Molson, thank you. There's a game called Warzone 2100. It was a demo disc game, but it was an RTS base builder game where you have like these mech tank sort of things and you have a base and you have to go and build up your base and then explore and do all this sort of thing. And I played the hell out of this on the demo disc. I remember playing it a lot. Never actually bought the game, but I remember playing it a ton. And it took me a long time to find this game. But yeah, Warzone 2100 on the PS1. That is the game. Exact same scenario as you. It was just an RTS builder game on a console. So that is my weird combination game, I guess. Kind of similar to yours. That's all we have this week. So appreciate you all for watching. And that's all from me, Nanchang, China. I hope I'm saying that right. Nanchang? You guys know what I mean.